Hello every single buddy and welcome back to Yu-Gi-Oh! The Sacred Cards Remake. I figured in this devlog I'd kind of go and talk about how I went about making these characters. And so as you probably saw in the intro, I've added a ton more characters into the game, and right here is all of the characters in the game. And let me tell you, it took a very long time in order to get all of this sorted. But to put it simply, I went through this massive process again and again and again in order to make each and every one of these characters. And since it's such a massive thing that I had to kind of figure out, today I figured it would be a really cool video to break it all down for you guys and just to kind of explain how you can go about making all these characters in the game. And so if we go up to this guy, for example, this is what I'm talking about, is how do you go about getting the portrait from the Game Boy Advance game, and how do you go about getting these top-down sprites from the game as well. And it's basically a whole process of ripping the characters, but also being able to get the portrait ones as well. And so yeah, I'm looking forward to showing you guys the behind the scenes of how it all works. And so with all that all being said, let's get into it. Okie dokie, so we're in the Game Boy Advance, we're playing Yu-Gi-Oh! The Sacred Cards, the original one, and I figured this would be a good place to start, just because you can get a lot of what you need in order to use some of the other programs that we'll be talking about later. And so the main thing that we need from this is, one, to be in the same place as the character that you want to rip. And the second thing is that you want to be able to get all of his palettes, because the program that we use, unfortunately, doesn't take into account all of the colours of each sprite that you want to go and rip. And so that's why we need to go into this emulator in order to be able to get it from here. And so what we do is we go and find whatever character we want to rip. For the purposes of this mini tutorial showcase thing, I'm going to pick the Rare Hunter dude, because he was one of the hardest to find, since he only shows up very briefly in the game. And so I managed to get like a save state a while back and just loaded up into here. And so since we found our character now, what we're going to do, and this is just for the top down version of him, not the portrait up close face of him, we're just going to focus on the top down version for now. But what we're going to do is we're going to go up to Tools and Palette Viewer, and as you can see over here, this is what we've got. And think of it like all these colours going along horizontally in a strip make up a character. And so the top one is our character, and the one next to it is the Rare Hunter. As you can see, he's got all the purples there, just like he's got on his hair there. And so what we want to do is we want to save it out onto the desktop, and once we've done that, we've now got all the colours that we need for that sprite. There's more that we need to do in this emulator, but for now I'm just going to be focusing on getting the sprite in game. And so with that being said, let's jump into YYCHR. Okay, so we've loaded up YYCHR, and this is the program that takes a look at all of the data within the Yu-Gi-Oh! Sacred Card ROM. And it basically goes and looks in there, and it's able to pick out all of the sprite information within the game. And one thing that I've noticed with this program is that it doesn't work for every game. In fact, for a lot of Game Boy Advance games, this flat out doesn't work at all. But we're very lucky in that Sacred Cards is one of the ones that does work with this program. And so as you can see right now, we've got two problems with what we're seeing here. The first one is that there's a little bit of misalignment with the sprites and the pixel information there. Another one is that, as we saw before, the colours are way off. And the first way to solve the colours is to be able to go to Palette, open Palette, and then get the palette file that we saved just before. We load that back in, and as you can see, it's looking much better now. And so if we go down onto this one here, we can see that this is the colour palette for the Rare Hunter as we saw in the emulator. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to see if we can find the Rare Hunter. And I don't know if this is going to take a while or not, so I might have to do a cut and then come back if I can't find him. But in the meantime, you know, the way to be able to get past this this error with the pixel information in the wrong place is that you have to just press these byte numbers over here until it comes into alignment. And there we go. And so that part is pretty easy and is all done. And so the next part, which I might cut if I don't find him soon, is just finding the rare hunter who is mixed in somewhere with these characters. And this is basically the process that I did, is I went through every single one of these sprites and extracted them after finding their palette in the Game Boy Advance game. And so, as you can imagine, it took a very, very, very long time. But I'm thankful that I'm finally finished it now, and this is just the showcase of how I did it, you know. But yeah, I think I'll probably do a cut and then I'll come back in a sec. Once I... oh, wait, there he is. Okay, I found him, never mind. So all you want to do once you found him is go up to File, Save Snapshot, and then be able to save it to the desktop, and that will save an image of this guy. And then from there, all I do is I just take it into Photoshop and just remove the background. So as you can see, he's if it doesn't want to freeze, he's come over here, and then from there it's just about getting rid of this background in Photoshop, which I used Magic Wand to be able to get past. And then once that's done, I'd go and take him into Unreal Engine, and I'll show you the sprite information over here. So say if I wanted that guy, for example, I'd go to the rare hunter and he would be here. And so yeah, that's basically the process that I use. Unreal Engine automatically splits apart the sprites so you don't have to do them individually, which is very, very, very nice, or else I would have lost my mind doing this. But that's how you get that part all done from the Game Boy Advance to Unreal Engine. Now I'm going to show you how to go about getting this part, all these guys, you know, so you can get him opening his mouth all the way partially and blinking partially and fully. And so we're going to jump over it and then see about how we can do that. Okay, so we're back in the Game Boy Advance, and this is the second part of what we need, in that, you know, I like to make a save state just before I do this in case I miss any of the frames. But basically the idea is that you want to kind of isolate out the different layers of the Game Boy Advance, and the emulator is very smart in the way that you can do that. Is you can hold Control and then press 1, 2, 3, 4, and then as you can see, it isolates out the sprite information so that you can just see what you want to see. And that makes it so much easier to be able to use the magic wand in Photoshop and to be able to get his frames. And so for me, this was the most difficult part, was being able to capture each frame of him blinking and opening his mouth so that I can then go and extract it and take a screenshot out of it. And the way I did that is I just had to press Control and then P, which is the shortcut to being able to pause the game. And I basically just went and kept pausing it until I catched the frame where he's partially closing his eyes and fully closing his eyes, and you know, the same with his mouth. And so I don't know if I'll be able to... oh wait, there we go. So yeah, that's very lucky. Usually it takes way longer than that. But that's basically what you want to do, is you want to just pause it as soon as he's closed his eyes, and then from there you can then go to File, Screen Capture, Desktop, and then just save out that screenshot of his face in that frame. And then I have to do that for every frame. I think there's 5 frames in total per character. And then once you've done that, we can then go and see that we've got the image there. And again, from there I just then go into Photoshop and just you know, get rid of the background, so then it can be imported into Unreal Engine like that. And yeah, that's how you extract it from the Game Boy Advance to Unreal Engine. And then from there, there's other steps that I did in order to get the characters moving and working. But essentially it was a combination of me just doing my own blueprinting and also using the visual novel framework, which is on the Epic Games marketplace. It was free for the month a while ago, so I was very lucky I grabbed it at the time. But I basically used a combination of my own blueprinting plus you know, the visual novel framework in order to be able to get each character walking in game. And yeah, that's basically what I did. And so as you can see, all of the animations are working so that he's talking and blinking, which you'll see hopefully in a sec on one of the characters that actually blink. Some of the characters don't blink in this, which is very creepy, but as you can see Joey here, he blinks and it's all working fine. And so yeah, again, like I said, the entirety of all the characters in the game have now been ripped and added to the game, and that's the part that took the most time. And so I think that you know, it's been worth it, but it's definitely been something that's slowed down the development of the game, and I think that I'm very thankful that it's finally done now. And so yeah, I think that covers most of my goings on for this devlog. I think a good thing to talk about now would be my thoughts going forward from here and what I'm planning to do for the next devlog. And so I think that the main priority right now is to be able to get more of the story in the game. You know, being able to get the game up to a point where you could actually play through a bunch of the story. And I also think that maybe splitting apart the card mechanics of the game and being able to play the card game element of the game and being able to play the open world, you know, story element of it is two different things that I want to be working on. And right now the way I see it is that I'm doing a good amount of work on the sprites and on the story and on the visual novel kind of framework side of things, and as a result I don't want to kind of forget these things that I've learned until I've completed a good chunk of what I've been working on, if that makes sense. And so I think for now my priority is going to be working on the story elements of the game, and then once I get the story out of the way and done, I'll then come back to the card game mechanics of the game and then carry it on from there. As it is right now, I'd say that the card mechanics are about 40% of the way done. And so I think that, you know, it's something that I'll be coming back to and giving my full attention to once the story element of the game is finished, if that makes sense. And so yeah, that's my thoughts going forward, and I'm looking forward to showing you guys more of what I'm going to be working on going forward from the game. But yeah, I figured since it's been a while since I've showed anything on YouTube, at least on the game, I figured I'd make this video just to kind of give an update on how things are going. And so yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you like this video and you did get some good knowledge, I guess, out of the whole thing, then subscribing is always a very cool thing to do. But thanks again for watching, and I guess I'll see you in the next one.